going to keep going with Tish. There's a lot of questions about the Lake Erie Bill of Rights. So for those who don't know, CELDF worked with the residents of Toledo, Ohio on the Lake Erie Bill of Rights after local drinking water was poisoned by algae blooms on the Great Lake Erie. Tish, you worked on this. So can you tell us some updates about the Lake Erie Bill of Rights, but also what it has accomplished even just after 1 year of being passed? How has it moved the needle on rights of nature? What have we learned from it? And how is conventional environmental law continuing to fail the people of Toledo and everybody that relies, the millions of people that rely on Lake Erie for future drinking water? Tish?
Yeah, thanks, Simon. I was trying to get the unmute going there. You know, well, a lot of the work that I've been involved with, obviously in Toledo and the other communities, my community, you know, facing environmental harms always has to do with the law, you know, changing the law. I mean, we're a legal defense fund. Plus, this is where we're taught to go, right, to make change. We're taught to go to the legislators, the courts. It's where we're taught change happens. And it's where the people of Toledo went first when they experienced their water crisis. You know, it's kind of interesting with COVID going on now because they actually had a preview into what we're all experiencing today. I mean, they had businesses shut down. They had restaurants, stores, hotels, the hospital shut down. None of those can operate without water. People were sent home from work. So they know and learned firsthand how devastating it is for a community to not have clean water. So for several years, obviously, you know, they did what they were taught to do. And so they tried to work through the electeds and using the environmental protection agencies and laws, but they got nowhere. Luckily for all of us, they were courageous enough, though, to step forward and try something new outside the box, so to speak. And what they did is propose. They worked with us, helped us draft, because again, it's about the community. And they passed the law themselves. So if government and the system is not going to protect Lake Erie and themselves, the people from harm, you know, then they realized they were going to have to do it themselves. And what this revealed, and a lot of times we forget, is that law is only part of the change making that has to occur when you're trying to do this big paradigm shift. And changing culture is about changing a lot of people's minds and how they perceive, I guess, an issue or what's going on around them in their community. And so when LIBOR passed, none of us expected this, but it was like a shot heard around the world. It was like people's minds almost exploded, like they'd never heard of such a concept. But when they did, rights of nature, it made perfect sense to them. A lot of people, I think, are very aware that corporations are given rights, and I put that in quotes, right, by our government and our system of law, and that they're recognized as having these rights. And it was like a real big wake-up call, like, well, of course, nature should have rights too. I mean, I can remember when I started in this work, and the other organizers have been doing this longer or just as long. And when we would talk about rights of nature, a lot of times, you know, we got made fun of. We were told we were crazy. I heard crazy things, you know, like, what are you going to let a squirrel bring a lawsuit in court? You know, and this went on and on. But all of a sudden, LIBOR passed and received this global attention in the mainstream media, and people began to make connections that they had never made before, which is, to me, very critical when you're talking about making, you know, paradigm change within the system. So, you know, now we need to move on, though, into the next phase of rights of nature. And, you know, and that's the enforcement part of the rights established for nature. You know, that needle still has to be moved forward. So if Lake Erie has a right to thrive and be healthy, if that's not enforced, then again, these are just more beautiful words on paper. And what we've seen is the system, as it is, the status quo, come crashing down on the people of the Lake Erie Bill of Rights. They were sued within 12 hours of passing their law by a big corporate agriculture entity that isn't even within the city of Toledo, claiming that their rights were going to be violated. What the community saw was the state of Ohio. So you would think the state is there to help protect the health, safety, and welfare of the people of Toledo, but they joined the lawsuit on the side of the corporate agricultural entity to try and get the law overturned. They claim ownership, that they own Lake Erie. So it's property to them, in other words. So again, it's going to be up to the people. You know, the people of Toledo, they started clearing another path, I guess, for all of us to go down. And we need a lot of other people to follow what they've started. I mean, it's how all movements for expansion of rights progress, from the bottom up, not the other way around, although people a lot of times want to go right to the top. What? Was that you, Simon?
No.
Oh, sorry.
I unmuted myself, but you're good.
Okay. Well, I'll just finish up by just saying, again, the people of Toledo, there's still the lawsuit. The judge decided this just a months ago and overturned the Lake Erie Bill of Rights, but the city of Toledo actually filed an appeal to that. So we really don't know what's going to happen, but I don't want that to make people think that they shouldn't pursue rights of nature in their community, because it's really about the people being able to self-govern, self-determine, and to protect both theirs and nature's future for all of us. I mean, I think we're really more that now than we've ever been. So I guess I'll just finish there with, we'll have probably more about the Lake Erie Bill of Rights, a lot you can read online, and we'll keep you posted.
Thanks, Tish.